Hi, I'm Scott Jensen, former Assembly Speaker.
And I'm Chuck Chvala, former Senate Majority Leader.
And we're the insiders. Well, Chuck, the Democratic Convention is wrapped up. How do you think it went for your team?
I felt very good. I think the goal here was to tell Joe Biden's story and make an emotional connection with the voters. I thought they did a remarkably good job. I think perhaps indicative of that was the young man with the stuttering problem. I think there were people who were brought to tears by that. I think it told the story of Joe and why he is a person who has empathy for everyone else, but told it through the eyes of someone who's going through life, someone that Joe connected with. I thought it was a great example of how they managed to take a very impersonal medium and with no crowd around to give you energy and still managed to make it very personal. And I thought they did a very good job of that. There were multiple examples, the John McCain video, the Jill Biden's telling the Joe Biden story through video and through her personal statements. There were just a number of highlights. Certainly there were some failures, but there are changes that will happen for all future conventions, which will come from this, including having states do their voting remotely. It was a fantastic thing. I think everybody loved that.
I thought there were some hits and misses. I mean, I think the first night was pretty awkward as they were trying to figure their way through how to do this virtual convention. It looked sort of like a telethon for a disease I'd never heard of. But by the last night, I think they had begun to figure this out. I think the last night there were way too many celebrities and bad jokes. But then they had highlights like the boy Braden, who made that connection with Joe Biden. That's really what these are supposed to be about, is not a logical argument about the issues. It's a chance for the candidate to make an emotional connection with the voters. And I think they did that. I think Biden's speech, when he was trying to do the high rhetoric that people like President Obama can pull off, I thought that fell a little flat. But when he was doing the emotional storytelling, that worked. That was successful for him. Now, the whole point of this convention was to bring it to Wisconsin because we're the key state that the Democrats need to pick up in order to win the presidency. So did the virtual convention accomplish what they wanted with regards to the Wisconsin voters?
Well, I think surprisingly it did. And a lot of the reason for that is that Wisconsin is a swing state, and we are going to respond to the things that are going to be most important for Joe Biden to win, and they did that. The problem was it certainly would have been much better for Wisconsin had they actually had the convention there. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. And certainly all of the connections that would be made locally in the city, bringing donors in that may have been able to get them committed to making Wisconsin a personal commitment of theirs. There are a lot of things that don't get to happen. That's why you bring the convention there. And so it was an unfortunate thing, but I think people understood that. So I don't think Wisconsin citizens will punish them. But again, Scott is absolutely right. And any of us who are actually insiders and understand the political process, it is not A plus B equals C. It is that emotional connection which makes a difference. I thought they were remarkably good in telling these personal stories and did it in a way that was, I think, compelling to Wisconsin people. Joe Biden seems to have that Midwest, nice guy attitude that people want. They want to relate. The old story about George Bush is one of the reasons he won, because people felt this is a guy they could have in their home and have a beer with and sit at the bar with. I think Joe leaves that impression with people, and I think that's one of the important contrasts that will help him in the election. People feel like he's their guy. They love that kid who had the problem with the stutter. They love the elevator person who made the connection with Joe. There are just so many of these stories. The Amtrak people. I think those were some of the best moments. And Scott's right. It's not about an economic argument, et cetera, et cetera. It's about what is the connection that this person has and what's the emotional connection. And in that vein, I think probably the biggest issue is coronavirus. That is really hurting the president badly because everybody feels he fumbled it, but they also feel that he's not empathetic to what's going on with them. And I thought one of the strongest videos was that young woman whose father had passed, who had been a Trump supporter. These things, I think, linger with people. We'll see. But right now, I think that those are going to be compelling issues. And I think he helped himself in Wisconsin quite a bit.
I thought it was odd that he didn't come to Wisconsin. I mean, they had him speak in a convention center in Delaware by himself. He then went outside to a crowd who was in a parking lot, socially distanced, and they had fireworks in the sky. You could have easily done that in Wisconsin. if the flaw in 2016 was that Hillary Clinton didn't come here, I can't believe that they went and made that same mistake again. And yet I'm not sure it's going to matter that much. I think people, this whole year has been disruptive. People know that people can't do the same normal things that they've always done. And I think they'll give them a pass on that. But Wisconsin is key to this election. You heard it again and again from people from all over the country who said, no pressure, Wisconsin, you guys are making the decision about who the next president of the United States was. And I think it would have made some sense for them to come here. After all, President Trump was here, Vice President Pence was here, other members of the Trump family were here. They all seem to be able to get here and talk to Wisconsin voters in person. I think that Joe Biden should have done that as well.
Yeah, I think that it's a hard thing when you're putting something together totally on the fly, and within the last 2 months, basically have to totally revamp what you're doing. Do you get everything right when you do something like that? No. I think what I was surprised at on balance was just how much they got right and how much they were able to make the emotional connection. I think that is surprising. I do believe that the Republicans will go to school on this, even though their convention is next week, and probably make some adjustmts, because I think there are some things that they will say, yeah, we want to do that. There will be some things that they'll avoid, like the keynote address with 17 people. I don't think we're going to see that from the Republicans. But, I think when you're making 1,000 different decisions on campaign teams which are put together in a very short process, it's hard to get every decision right.
Well, we'll see what the impact of this is in Wisconsin, the state that is apparently going to elect the next president of the United States. See you next week.
Time.